What's happened to my physical and mental health?
What's happening to mine?
Why didn't I make a video diary last week?
Because you're a lazy bastard.
What craziness has been happening in Spain's crazy fortnight of craziness?
What?
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 Come with me through the curtain of blurred colons and find out what's going on in my crazy cancer chemo story. Welcome to the Tumour-tastic.
Video diary number 46.
Hi, Skatz here.
I know who you are.
It's Friday, November the 8th. Welcome to video diary number 46 on Still Alive, where we don't like to die before we die, do we? We're not crazy, are we?
Are you? Are we? Who is?
So it's been 2 weeks since the last diary. Did you listen to the random song in the meantime? What did you think? Pause now and tell me in the comments. I think it was the most randomist of all of the most randomist songs in the whole random world.
It was bollocks.
In a minute or 2 or 5, I'm going to reveal the true state of my physical and mental health that I've been trying to ignore or make light of because of, well, I'll tell you in a minute. But before that, let's chat about what's happened in the past fortnight and why I didn't make a video last week, apart from the song.
Shut it about the song.
It's been the most crazy of all crazy 2 weeks. Let me tell you the story. Some of it was on the news, but I experienced it in a different crazy way to the crazy way you experienced it, because craziness looks different from different angles, and sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not there, like Schrodinger's craziness. Some of it didn't happen to me except in small packages delivered from the TV, like parts of the UK budget. I didn't even open that package.
Oi! Stop playing with your package.
Then there was a sudden delivery of storms in Spain, and they didn't come in small packages. They all arrived at once in very large packages, very quickly, and with a fanfare of thunder and special effects lightning. The gusts of winds ripped through the top of the gazebo that sits over the hot tub in the garden. We didn't have time to take it down and make it safe, so it's broken. We had to order another top bit. Oh dear. We like storms, they're very exciting. Lots of photos appeared on Facebook. Quickly. As quick as the lightning in the pictures.
That was a bad simile. Haven't you heard of metaphors?
The next day, Liz and I had to go to the opticians in Fuengirola again to pick up glasses and to have a look at mine. We were a bit worried about the rain warnings, but they weren't forecast to be as bad in Fuengirola, so we braved it. While we were away, the heavens opened in Compita. I don't know why people say that. Is heaven full of water? We don't know, do we? Nobody knows. We don't know. But there must be plenty of it there, because this time when it opened really wide, and all the water came out very quickly all at once. Some of it was hailstones.
God send it all as a warning against you being a ponce.
From a restaurant in Fuengirola, we watched the Facebook videos of waterfalls thundering down the steep streets of our village, and read reports of landslides blocking the 2 access roads from the coast, and the third, even more treacherous road through the mountains. It was like watching a different world. It was calm and occasionally even sunny in Fuengirola as we tucked into some lovely pasta.
You lucky bastards!
We thought we'd be stranded there, or somewhere a bit closer to home possibly. You'd have to find a cheap hotel in Torrox or somewhere. We were a bit worried. We'd left the dogs alone at home, and the friends with keys to the gate were all below the part of the road where the landslides were.
They was trapped! Trapped!
We kept on checking in with reports from Compita, and eventually they were saying that one of the roads was passable with care, so we set off home gingerly. And we made it eventually. In the meantime, though, we were getting reports from further afield of places having worse problems, a lot worse problems. Some of the towns on the coast, for a start, were flooded, but nothing was quite like what was happening over in the east, where Valencia was having a year's worth of rain dropped on them in a matter of hours. Poor buggers didn't stand a chance. Well, you've seen it on the news, haven't you? Terrible, terrible loss of life. It's the worst natural disaster to hit Spain at all, ever, apparently. The mood here has been sombre ever since, except for the outpouring.
That pun was offensive.
Of support, not just in kind words, but in donations of food and water and medicines and clothes and cleaning products for the people of Valencia. Computer has just loaded up, I think it was 4 big vans and a trailer, and they headed off a couple of days ago, on Wednesday afternoon it was. So all of those supplies will be helping right now. And it's happening all across the country, apparently. There's vans and lorries packed to the gunnels with whatever people need. And the generosity and kindness and willingness to physically help their fellow man is amazing. It's palpable. And my heart and best wishes go out to the people of Valencia and to the volunteers helping them from the rest of Spain. If any of you would like to donate to the cause, don't donate to me this week. I donate to them. They need it way more than I do. I believe the Spanish Red Cross have an appeal going, amongst others. I'll find some links and post them below if you want to find those.
Never mind them. What about me?
So, changing the subject.
Typical.
Why didn't I make a video diary last week, I hear you ask? Why didn't you make a video diary last week? And what's all this about your physical and mental health? Is something going on that you're not telling us, I hear you ask? What's all this about your physical and mental health? Is something going on? Yeah, that's enough of that. Yeah. I'll come to that question in a minute. I didn't make a video diary because I was away in Ireland. Yes, it's the first time I've been back there since emigrating, and it was all because our son Oscar was having his graduation ceremony after finishing his nursing degree at Sligo University. Or is it the Sligo part of Galway University? Or is it ATU, something about Technology University? Anyway, we flew out from Malaga on Thursday morning last week to spend Halloween in the green of Ireland.
I don't know, it's the little people.
It was an early start to get to the airport for 7 a.m. I'd only had a cup of coffee before setting off, so by the time we'd checked in and got through border control, we were both a bit peckish and willing to have absolutely anything. So we did. Liz spotted a Burger King, so we went for it. Burgers aren't really a traditional breakfast anywhere in the world, I don't think, but they did hit the spot. We knew that it was going to be the last hot food before we arrived. We were flying via Barcelona to Dublin. Then it was a 3-hour drive to the house we'd booked for us and Liz's sister and brother-in-law.
I love Burger King. That's why I'm here in the first place.
The second flight was delayed, but we seemed to make up loads of time. We'd booked a 7-seater SUV in case we had to fit us all in there, including Oscar. It turned out, though, that Oscar used his car all the time while we were there, and he gave the others a lift everywhere, so it was only me and Liz in the massive car after all. Oh well, it was very comfortable and we needed it for such a long drive. Our little Fiat Panda would have been a bit of an arseache for me. Oh, and I didn't tell you about picking up the car. Excuse me. Burps going on. We found the car rental office very quickly at Dublin Airport, but they told us our car was at the main office. I thought, well, why is the main office not here where people are arriving? Anyway, we took the courtesy minibus to get there. Just seemed a bit weird, but it wasn't very far anyway. We got dropped off and went into the office and it was empty. Lovely and empty, no customers there at all. People behind the desk though. We thought, oh, that's brilliant, we'll be served really fast. Oh, that's nice, we said. And the woman on the desk said, passports please. And then Liz realised she'd left her bum bag on the bus. Now, you know the whole point of bum bags is to keep your important things close to you so you don't lose them, don't you? So actually keeping it attached to you would seem to be the logical position to maintain, yes? But no. Liz went running out to wave the bus down, but he'd gone. I went back into the office and fortunately they had a radio and contacted the driver and told him to turn around. He had to go all the way around the big industrial estate before he got back, and I'd found Liz wandering the car park in distress. By the time we got back into the office, every desk was busy, and you know how long it takes for them to do all the documentation. So Liz was feeling guilty, and I was keeping my mouth shut like a sensible husband, of course, and being supportive.
You were lying with your face.
So we did the paperwork, and in spite of us having paid in advance, including extra insurance and everything else, they still wanted to block off more than $3,500 on a credit card as a deposit. We didn't have that in the joint account, and they wouldn't take Revolut or any other online account, so I said I'll transfer it from my business account into the joint account. We were using Liz's card because she was the main driver, so we couldn't use my other one. Anyway, fortunately, I'd had a tax rebate into my business account last month and had just enough in there to top up the joint account. Unfortunately, though, my phone wasn't connecting to the network properly, so we panicked for a bit until eventually we found a Wi-Fi signal and managed to do the transfer. That wasted even more minutes. So by the time we got the car keys, we were both shaking with nerves like this, and I think I'd had too much coffee anyway. And I had a stinking headache for lots of different reasons. One of them was that we'd had to throw away water twice in the mornings because we couldn't take it through security. Because it's dangerous stuff, water, you know, when it's in a plastic bottle. For goodness sake. So we'd spent a fortune buying a little bottle between us on both flights, and I was dry as a bone with a cold and a headache on top of it. It took us ages to find a garage to buy water once we got on the road, so that I could take a paracetamol and quench everything.
And I kept standing on your bladder.
Oh, and they told us in the hire car place not to cross the border on our way to the top left corner of the Republic of Ireland. The border is very close to where we were going, so we did our very best, but at one point we ended up on a very long but very straight country road that looked like it was built by the Romans. It was quite narrow, and it was getting towards dusk by the time we got there, and we couldn't drive very fast as it was dark. So anyway, it seemed like the last short leg of the journey in terms of distance took way longer than it should have done. It took about a third of the journey time, which is awful. I couldn't tell on the road map on the phone exactly where the border was most of the time, but we did pass signs in miles per hour instead of kilometres, so I think we strayed over into the north for an unspecified period of time. Don't tell anyone, will you? You hardly saw anyone on that stretch of road, except when we turned a corner and suddenly got blinded by flashing blue lights. It was a police car going at high speed. We had no idea who they were chasing us. No one had passed us at all. It was a shock, though. We thought it must be the Northern Ireland police coming to arrest us for crossing over the border. But it wasn't. They passed us and disappeared off into the distance. Phew.
Lock him up! Lock him up!
Anyway, we got to the holiday rental house intact, and Oscar and the other two were waiting to welcome us. That was lovely, and so was the Indian takeaway that we had delivered, and the wine the others had bought ready for our arrival. Oscar stayed the night, and we booked a wonderful meal for the following day before the ceremony. I had potato skins for starters with cheese and bacon, then fish and chips for the main course. Oh, that was nice. I was looking forward to that. I'd had that in my head for months, that I was going to have that in Ireland. Anyway, and of course cheesecake for dessert, all washed down with a couple of pints of Guinness. The memories of Ireland flooded back.
Diddledy-idledy bollocks!
I won't bore you with the details of the graduation ceremony. I'll just say I've never clapped so much in my life. There were about 300 people getting their degree scrolls in there, and that was just the late afternoon ceremony. I think they'd had 2 other ceremonies that day, and it wasn't the only day of ceremonies. Must have been a long time for all of the officials in there, who had to keep on marching in and out to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Very grand. Anyway, of course we filmed Oscar when he got his thingy, slip scroll piece of paper, and cheered loud and proud. Shocked everyone around us when we did that. He looked awesome in his posh new suit and the gown and the hat that we'd hired for him. Tears were spilled, I'll tell you now. He's worked very hard for it. He got a 2-1, which is awesome. It's way better than the degree I got. Anyway, but he also got his nurse's pin the day before, which means he's now an actual qualified nurse and not a student anymore. Brilliant.
Who bloody right?
So lots of celebrating that night, although actually not as much as the night before. We were in bed a bit earlier because we had a fairly early start in the morning to drive back to Dublin. But not until we tucked proper northern, tucked into a full Irish breakfast. Lovely. Oh, and on the journey, Oscar texted to give us access to his airport lounge pass in Dublin. So when we'd got through security, we went straight there, and wow, have you ever been to one of these places? I never realised that they existed, really. Didn't realise what they did. I thought it was just like some comfortable chairs and a few facilities and a bit of a quiet place to lie down and relax. But there was free food and a free bar. If I'd known, we'd have set off 3 hours earlier and made the most of it. As it turned out, We were a bit rushed, but we happily made use of everything they had on offer very quickly. I'll say only 4 more words. Double chocolate chip cookies.
You diabetic sugar junkie!
Then we were back home fairly rapido, missing our dogs who were still with our usual dog sitter. We picked them up the next day though. Our house is quite cold at the moment. The heating's not been working since it was turned back on for the cold weather. Turns out that the system is completely broken. It's a heat exchanger, which I don't know very much about, but it's expensive obviously to replace the main part of it, the boiler, I guess that would be. It's a big job for the landlord. It was actually finished off this afternoon, only a couple of hours ago as I'm recording this, which is just as well because excuse me, there's a burp on its way up. Another burp! You see, it's all happening. I'll tell you about my health in a minute. You've been waiting very patiently. I was just going to say, it's just as well the heating's coming on now, because I've had a cold for a while now and my immunity is obviously still low. You might have heard me sniffing on my videos. I've not been doing it on this one. I've been holding it back, but listen. That's how much I can breathe. There's a tiny little gap there that I can breathe through. Anyway, I've been sniffing on the other videos for a few weeks and got at least one complaint. Some days I just can't breathe through my nose at all. Other days it's running like a tap and soaking my handkerchief in minutes. And I get headaches and everything, all in the sinuses and how nasty. I just can't seem to shake it. And it's gone on for well over a month. I don't know when it started. The last few days as well, there's been a south breeze blowing across from Africa, bringing very bad quality air, which was making me cough whenever I went outside.
Not very well, are we? Good.
So that brings me to what I said I was going to talk about, to elucidate about my general health and state of mind. Generally, when I see people and they ask me how I am, it's on a good day, or I'm powering through a mediocre day and putting my strong face on. Most people say I look really well all the time, whether they're saying that to make me feel better, which is a kind thing to do, or whether I do actually look just normal, I'm not sure. But the truth is, I usually don't feel all that good, which is a very British way of saying I feel like shite a lot of the time. It's no surprise really. I've had radiation and horrendous chemicals pumped into me for months, and you don't recover quickly from that.
You're telling me!
So in spite of my cheerful and glowing outer appearance, I just wanted to remove the mask of strength for a minute and stop performing for you and making this in-between part of my cancer experience more interesting and uplifting just for you. So, my name is Skatz and I feel like shite. I'm not going to go on about it for too long, except to make jokes of it all the time. I'm mostly going to put my brave face back on in a minute, because what else can you do? I keep being asked when I'm going to start gigging again, and it feels like I should just go for it. In my heart, that is. But then my head kicks in and says, "Don't you fucking dare, you stupid idiot." And feel that neuropathy in your hands and feet, and feel the tiredness, feel the brain fog, feel how tougher it is to power on through even when you haven't got a whole 3-hour show to put on for a music audience. Just rest, you idiot. And keep on resting. Your body is healing. Very slowly, so it seems. And in a short while, someone's going to cut you open and remove Freddie, and you'll take several steps backwards and have to recover from that too. It's going to be a long, long winter. And that's what the happy voice in my head is saying.
I am not happy!
I'm going to give a big shout out now to anyone else who gets affected by the seasons. Since moving to Spain, I've hardly noticed it, but this year it's just taken it out of me. It's kept me indoors and out of the sunlight a lot, and left me vulnerable to the darker days. And in this long wait for the operation, it's been tough to hold on to the mental strength. And one of the worries, which I won't get an answer to until the operation is done, is that if I need a temporary stoma bag fitted, I'll need an operation next summer to remove it. And that'll stop me gigging again right in the middle of the busy time. And that means I'll be in a tight financial spot again, and I can't stop thinking about that. I'm still not sure when I'll be able to start gigging again this time round. And I can't keep on relying on goodwill and donations to cover me continually through another year. I mean, you've all been wonderfully generous, and I'm eternally grateful, but it would be asking way too much of you. I'm always trying to come up with other ways to, for example, make the videos more profitable with sponsorship and stuff. I don't think I can do it on this channel because there just aren't enough viewers, you know. This is just for my friends. But on the YouTooSpain channel, of course, I can, you know, got more viewers on that one, and it's monetizable. But still, it's tough to do when you feel like this.
You think you've got problems?
Anyway, enough moaning. Strong face back on, and back to the fight. Here it is. I'm going to book in to see the doctor and at least try to send this coal or whatever it is into the pit of oblivion. I don't want to have it when I go into hospital or on my 60th birthday in December or over Christmas. I've had enough of it now.
You've had enough. I'm on death row, mate.
La! On that note... that was intentional, but actually you can hear the huskiness in my voice. It's happening all the time. But on that note, that's all for this week. But next week I'll be back, and I'm sure I'll be happier and have plenty to talk about. Thank you so much for continuing to follow me and just continuing to bear my moaning, and for sending those lovely messages of support, and for doing the GoFundMe thing.
Don't do that. He'll never shut up.
Tune in next Friday for another thrilling episode of
Diddly-idly shite.
Keep your fingers and toes crossed, you lovely people, and as always, raise your drinking receptacle with me. The toast is still alive.
Diddly-idly shut your face.
Let's all do the still alive dance.
Why don't you do the feck off dance?